What up, boys and girls? This is the other Paul, and my buddy Tommy is here once again, and we're finally back with Christendom Weekly, the soon-to-be one day the most bastardo Christian news commentary show ever, particularly on matters of church news, and particularly on church news in Australia. My man Tommy, how you going?
I'm good, Paul. I'm good. I've survived the week so far, and I'm happy to crack into it once more with you.
Bloody oath, mate. Bloody oath. I'm going to share it with the, I'm going to share it with my Discord quickly. Everyone live now, exclamation mark. And the interesting thing with this is that we're both on YouTube, but we're also on Odysee. Yes, it's working on Odysee. Just checking it now. Whoops, my audio is happening. So I'm just going to share those links really quickly. And we are sweet as. All right. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. They're both working. Actually, I've got to turn down my Odysee quality in case, because I have it previewed as well, so I can keep watching in case anything happens with the stream, because it's automatically at 1080p, which is not good while I'm streaming. But yes, anyway, we're here now, and I'm going to start off, so I do not forget later, by thanking financial supporters. And I have my good list here of the Census Patronorum, literally the census of patrons or supporters. And yes, I have to keep updating it for when people join in the subscribe star. It's flipping awesome stuff. So thank you all very much, you gentlemen and lady. I think one lady. Yes, I think we got one lady there. How
Tiffany.
Good gender representation. This is possible because of you guys. You get some nice benefits, but you also make this you're turning this slowly into a job for me, which is fantastic, a livable income. Distanced from full on livable income, but we're getting there. It's fantastic. Thank you all so much. And this episode, this Christendom Weekly, will be the first time we get to use one of the new benefits for the Episcopos tier, because it was notably lacking in unique benefits. So one of those benefits is that those on Episcopos tier and upwards, so Episcopos and Patriarches, they are able to propose and vote for news stories that we will comment on the Christendom Weekly. So far, it's just one at the moment, because commentary can go for a very, very long time, and there's things I want to comment just because I find them myself. But depending on how we go, I may, and if more and more people join in the Episcopos and Patriarches tier, to the point where there's a bunch of you guys voting, I may expand that to 2 stories, so that so you can definitely feel represented in your voting. So thank you guys so much. And if you are an absolute legend, let me share one more thing. If you're an absolute legend, you can support them. Subscribe star right here. These are the whoops, hang on. Whoa, what happened? Hang on. Okay, my stream got stuffed up. These are the awesome tiers with the awesome benefits they have. You can support me today, get a bunch of other awesome benefits apart from just what we saw. Yes, I am indeed selling the Episcopal office. It is very how would I say it? Let's say it is very it's very Jerusalem patriarchate of me, if you get my drift. But yes, you can support me. These awesome tiers, awesome benefits, even at the lowest level. Anyway, I don't want to go on too long with that. So I reckon you know what, Tommy, let's start off with some what's happening in the popish world of Sydney, Australia.
What's happening in the popish world of Sydney, Australia? Our good friend Tom Green, who's in the seminary, just posted a video about his daily life in the Parramatta Diocese. One of our good seminarian friends. A lot of our other
not so good diocese.
Yes, unfortunately. And also our good friend Michael, who's in the Sydney Diocese, who's a seminarian. It was his birthday the other day, so that was very lovely.
That's right. Happy B-Day to Michael, absolute legend, love the guy.
Absolute legend.
Hang on, isn't his party tonight?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think
I wasn't invited.
Maybe
I'm busy anyway. I've got family obligations, so
fair enough. Well, happy birthday, Michael. Awesome stuff.
Yes.
Have you seen, because I remember, I don't know if it was, I think it might have been actually last year. That's crazy. Or maybe a few months ago. Have you seen any posters in front of parishes for like, come to our Pride Mass or Pride event or something? I don't know.
I've not seen anything as of yet. However, I would not be surprised if something popped up soon. To be honest, it's been a bit it's been completely surprising, but compared to like last year and the year before, Pride Month, like the most I've seen is like an advertisement on YouTube. But like in terms of Facebook, Twitter, BitChute, YouTube, like there's nothing. So
That's good. Well,
it's actually it's quite literally died down.
that's
Probably
good.
thanks
That's
to
positive.
COVID.
Obviously the infiltrating sodomites haven't just up and left, but it seems they just may not be as proud right now, which would be absolutely fantastic. That's very good. That's very good stuff. That's very good stuff right there.
Impressive. Very nice.
I have a whole ton of these clips on my side here. I need to keep getting more because there's so many nice little reaction clips you can do. I love StreamYard so much.
Yes.
Now I reckon we go to the main story, which is what has been voted on by a whole two supporters. A whole two supporters, because I don't have like 12,000 people supporting me right now. But
it's going to be awkward in the democratic process if one wants one thing and one wants the other. Nothing's going to get done.
Yeah, that's
like with our government.
Absolute gridlock. That's it. This story was proposed by a supporter, and honestly, it's I should have thought of it myself because like, it's the most obvious thing to cover. But yes, brought up and voted on and or not objected to by Episcopos and by Bishop and Patriarch tier to make it easier supporters. And that is, hang on, I've got to share the window again. That is the General Synod of the Anglican Church of Australia. That happened very recently, quite literally right after I joined the Anglican parish I'm going to now. So really, really fun timing. Very, very exciting. And indeed, yes, we should see the other Paul Allen.
The other Paul Allen.
Nice. Oh, someone's going to make that a thing. Please, one of you legends.
It's made of ancient Egyptian papyrus.
This is papyri. Nice. Oh, man. And Reformed Presbyter, lovely to see you here, lad. Lovely to see you here as well. Likewise to you other gents here. What up? But yes, this just happened. And it wasn't just any other synod. This one was on the core issue of sexuality itself. So to the point where there was voting on whether to have blessed same-sex marriages in the Anglican Church of Australia or not. So a very big and pivotal one. So by God's grace, of course, there was an overt bill. Let me see do I have it pulled up right now? I don't think I have it pulled up right now. I'm going to share. Actually, I don't have it right now, but basically one bill that was proposed by, I think, Reverend Dr. Matthew Anstey. He proposed an affirmation of same-sex marriage bill, just straight up, no filter, affirm same-sex marriage in the Anglican Church. That failed, thankfully. But the big thing really was, let me see if I can get to this window here. Why can't I switch to the window? That's so weird. Hang on, really quickly. The big one is actually the motion that was sent forth in order to explicitly codify one man, one woman traditional marriage in the Anglican Church of Australia, because there was some absolute BS done by like the Liberals on the constitutional level, that like the Constitution technically doesn't say this on a doctrinal level, which is really complicated, really retarded. So our own Archbishop of Sydney proposed a motion to explicitly affirm one man, one woman marriage. And I have up right here, this is actually the blog of a minister I know who went to the synod, represented a parish in the synod, and he documented, he gave brief summaries of what happened there from his own perspective and such. And it's good. I'm going to be linking those below afterwards, as well as the main window I showed before, which had all the documents from the synod that you can read yourself. And he documented the way through. And what he discussed that was really, really weird. I actually talked to them personally myself. That what happened was actually, no, I should share. Why can't I switch to windows like I used to? I used to be able to just switch seamlessly from one to the other, like unless I'm not doing the right one. Oh no, that's screen sharing. I think. Hang on. I've got to do one more time. Time of healing debate. No, Synod 3. Bishops out of touch. I think that's the one. Yep. Share that one. Okay. Cool. So this one's very interesting because this is where he discusses how when the motion was actually voted on to affirm one man, one woman marriage, and it succeeded in the Anglican Church of Australia. There's the three houses: the House of the Laity, House of Clergy, and the House of Bishops. It passed in the House of Laity. It passed in the House of Clergy by very healthy majorities. Unfortunately, there were big minorities against it, but otherwise very healthy majorities voted for the motion. But then it failed narrowly in the House of Bishops by 10 to 12. And actually, I have the main, right here. I have the main minutes right here. I've got to jump between these things like one by one. It's absolutely retarded. And right here. So this is the minutes of it itself. So this is the motion. Let me zoom in a bit more. Presented by our own Sydney Archbishop Kanishka Raphael, and seconded by Reverend Natalie Rosner. Reverend. Okay, Reverend Natalie. Yes. Not a fan. Not a fan. Lucky Romanists, they don't have this problem. Anyway.
All excommunicated.
Yeah. So it says here in the motion, pursuant to the authority in Section 4 and Section 26 of the Constitution to make statements as to the faith, ritual, and ceremonial or discipline of this church, and in accordance with the procedures set out in Rule 5, the General Synod hereby states the faith, ritual, and ceremonial discipline of this church reflect and uphold marriage as it was ordained from the beginning, being the exclusive union of one man and one woman arising from mutual promises of lifelong faithfulness, which is in accordance with the teaching of Christ that from the beginning the Creator made them male and female, and in marriage a man will leave his father and his mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. And in 2004, the General Synod did not condone the liturgical blessing of same-sex relationships, nor the ordination of people in committed same-sex relationships, recognizing that both matters are subject to ongoing debate in the church and that we all have an obligation to listen to each other with respect. I, for one, don't really have much respect for pro-sodomy, but that's In 2017, the Commonwealth Parliament amended the definition of marriage in the Marriage Act 1961 to mean, and this is Australia, the union of two people to the exclusion of all others voluntarily entered into for life, therefore making lawful the marriage of two persons of the same sex, so on and so forth. The solemnization of a marriage between a same-sex couple is contrary to the teaching of Christ, the faith, ritual, ceremonial, and or discipline of this church. And any rite or ceremony that purports to bless a same-sex marriage is not in accordance with the teaching of Christ and the faith, ritual, ceremonial, and or discipline of this church. So that was the motion put forward by our own based Archbishop. And here are the results. Laity, 63 yes, 47 no. And these are representatives across the country, by the way. There's not literally barely over 100 laymen in the Anglican Church of Australia. So House of Laity, 63 yes, 47 no. So it passed. Clergy, 70 yes, 39 no. So an even bigger majority. Passed there. Bishops, 10 yes, 12 no. Just failed. The motion just failed with the bishop. And so this shows a very interesting pattern, how there is more than you'd expect, more orthodoxy than you'd expect in the laity and the clergy in the Anglican Church in Australia. Unfortunately, much more liberalism than we'd like, but otherwise quite a bit more than one would expect. And yet the bishops at least just fall over onto the apostasy side. That's a really peculiar phenomenon. And I'm probably not as well attuned as you, Tommy, but I've actually noticed a similar pattern in Roman Catholicism as well, at least in Australia.
Well, what's very interesting is that when we actually look at the basis of orthodoxy in any faith, inherently, when we look at those who are older or those who are, not in the newer generations, more or less, given the circumstances that they grew up in, because they're the baby boomer generation, they are actually less likely to be orthodoxy compared to our generation on the basis that was the cultural norm which they grew up in. Specifically, from 1950 to 1980 was a massive cultural liberal shift from the essentially it was the massive change in not just in terms of from a religious perspective, but from an actual all-around worldly view, that many people began to change and become, in a sense, what was now less a more modern norm, with what we see in terms of media and what we see in terms of how liberals want certain things, whether it be same-sex marriage, assisted dying, abortion, such as that. So it even though it is surprising in a sense that given the three different parties that voted, that while two had a massive clear majority, I'm not essentially unsurprised that the bishops had a very narrow vote, considering that they are actually more likely to be liberal than actual conservative compared to those in the clergy and the laity. However, what I would say is that if the majority now in the bottom two houses are very clear, then it probably won't be long till a majority does eventually return to the bishops.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that as well. It's a very peculiar, very, very peculiar phenomenon. As I said, I've even seen it in Roman Catholicism as well. Like hearing all the stuff that happens in even just in the same Sydney Archdiocese, but in Roman Catholicism and really across the world, where you hear all these stories of these younger, not necessarily super young, but younger like priests and such. They'll do this one trad thing, and then the bishop above them's like, yeah, nah, and they try to like silence them or remove them one way or another. It's fascinating, really fascinating how it always happens like that. And I think it does make sense with how you say it, because you got these older folks in the bishopric who are like they're coming from like the 70s and 80s and that like the ages of great liberalism, fantastic, massive advances of attempting to inject liberal evils into the church, and yet by God's grace, at least with this case, it was only a very slim majority that won this. And as you say, this may well end up changing in the future, given what we see with the clergy and the laity. God willing. And what makes this really funny as well, I noticed this. I read through that minister David Old's blog accounts of what happened, because he noticed something really funny. Because after this, there was another motion about the definition of chastity. I believe it's in these same minutes. Okay? Yeah. Here it is. Okay. So you notice this. Just before, the majority of bishops denied the definition of marriage exclusively as one man, one woman, right? And because the House of Bishops denied it, the motion failed. Now, this motion of the definition of unchastity passed. It was only a slim minority for passing the House of Bishops, but they still passed it. And so the motion itself was passed. And here's what it says. Statement 2, definition of unchastity. Actually, this is the amendment. Pursuant to the authority recognized in sections 4 and section 26 of the Constitution to make statements blah, 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 and in accordance with the blah, 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 the General Synod states that it continues to hold the historic view that unchastity means sexual intimacy outside a marriage relationship defined in the Book of Common Prayer as the union of one man and one woman in accordance with Jesus' teaching about marriage in Matthew 19:4-5. And the results? Laity, 62 yes, 48 no. Clergy, 69 yes, 39 no. Bishops, 12 yes, 11 no. And so it passed. What do you notice about this, Tommy? What does this get your noggin jogging one way or another?
Well, essentially, Paul, because they fail. Well, because the difficulty with the first the first statement that they made to try and essentially pass, because that regardless of whether it did go through or not, it's clear already that it has now affected another part of the church, which I'm sure many in the pro-LGBTQ would claim that is false, which clearly you can see that no, it is not a simple issue of, oh, yes, we should support marriage, or no, we shouldn't. And this is a perfect example from a Christian perspective, because here now we see that the issue with same-sex relations is affecting the very definition of unchastity within this church. And unfortunately...
Here's the thing. I was hoping you were going to observe the opposite, because the bishops failed the motion to define marriage one man, one woman, but they passed a motion, all three houses, including the bishops, passed a motion that included in it a definition of marriage as one man, one woman.
Well, that's the very issue, Paul, is the fact of the matter that clearly they don't want to define marriage as just between one man and one woman. But unfortunately, if they can't define that, then how exactly can they define their unchastity? Because unchastity is unchastity can also be, unfortunately, sins with anything outside of a woman, even before marriage. However, as we can see, it's idiotic. It's the easiest way.
And to be fair as well, this is also only a very slim majority. So likely, like most of the same people who oppose this bill also oppose the prior one of the prior motion of defining one man, one woman. So they saw the implications of this bill as defining one man, one woman. But it just so happened that like one or two others, like two others at least, had this really bizarre inconsistency where they denied an explicit motion on defining marriage as one man, one woman. But then they pass another motion that at its foundation explicitly defines marriage as one man, one woman. And so now the Anglican Church of Australia has a really, really bizarre borderline internal contradiction. Because on one hand, they refused to explicitly define marriage that way. But then another motion they did. And so now one can very strongly make the argument, like I acknowledge liberals would be able to construe this as a technicality, like, oh, technically it doesn't explicitly say marriage is one man, one woman. It just says that the Book of Common Prayer defines it that way, as if that's a meaningful distinction, since the bill, the actual motion itself uses that as the foundation for the definition of unchastity. And so now, because this is passed, one can make the argument that any churches in the Anglican Church of Australia that bless same-sex marriages, given that marriage in its very core definition is sexual in nature, that in blessing same-sex marriages, they're violating they're committing they're not committing, they're permitting and blessing unchastity. So if someone who has the balls, I hope, could end up making that argument against those dioceses that those who bless same-sex marriages are condoning unchastity and thus actually going against an official statement in the Anglican Church of Australia. What do you reckon? Do you reckon there might be hope with that?
Well, unfortunately, Paul, that appears to be the case of what they've done to themselves. This clear paradox of the first and second statements, this inconsistency has sort of led to, many preachers and people who go to these churches who may not be well endowed with knowledge in history, in theology, in ethics, or even maybe not even read their Bible or comprehend certain things. To them, something like this would just simply make them annoyed. Like they want a simple yes or no. They don't want to go into the heavy details of why this is complex. However, the fact of the matter is, they have essentially stated, whilst yes, we will happily state that marriage is not just between a man and a woman. However, those who commit unchastity are those who are not married between a man and a woman. And unfortunately, now it will be the case of, well, do we inherently support marriages that are outside of men and women, which in accordance to our own clear definition is technically unchastity? Or do we ignore that statement and then go to the prior one, which actually does affirm them? It's
amazing. It really is an incredible scenario, eh? It's hilarious. They're going to be expected now. These Anglican archdioceses or dioceses individually, assuming that the apostate diocese would even care about the official rulings of the national body anyway, because we see that with the progressive horde a lot in institutions where even if the national, they try to push things on a national level, on an official level, but as soon as it goes against their way, they don't give a stuff anyway, because they realize that it's war, it's an actual war, so you don't play by your enemy's rules. So either they'll just have to do that, or if they want to try and remain in consistency, they'll have to bless same-sex marriages which have no sexual intimacy. So in other words, they're paper marriages only. They're virtually nothing, which is hilarious. Thank God for that. Thank God. But like it's amazing. It's really funny. I can't think of another way to put it. And
it's quite humorous, yes.
My word, it's amazing. And again, actually, for people who want to see it now, You can look at these official documents on anglican.org.au. Actually, I'll just put the link in the live chat right now. This is in the YouTube live chat. Actually, let me go on to Odysee really quickly as well, so I can put it there just in case people are watching there alone exclusively. Odysee live chat, comment, and send. Okay, so that link that I've sent right here, you can go to it and you can find all the primary source documents from the Synod itself to read it. This one that we're looking at right now is the minutes for day 3, so you can look through that. That's when this vote happened, or both votes for the motion on the definition of marriage and on the definition of unchastity, which is just a really funny, like this, just an absolute clown world moment, like absolute honk moment of contradiction within the Anglican Anglican National Church. But honestly, it's ultimately good news, in my opinion. The fact that they passed this definition of unchastity that is explicitly heterosexual, and also, and even if they did deny the motion, it showed that the conservative resurgence is real, and the progressives only have like a very, very slim hold at the moment, which is very good stuff. Very good stuff. Oh man! And one of my legendary supporters who actually suggested this story. I don't want to look at the minutes; it will make me depressed. Yeah, I get that. No, I get that. You gotta adopt the attitude that I get, where like I revel in the battle. Like when I see like the hordes of progressives running in, I don't let it get me down. It gets me hyped up to start wiping them all out in Minecraft. Don't worry, in Minecraft, or preferably Doom Eternal, because Doom Eternal's the or any of the Doom games really are the proper analogy of us versus the progressive wing of the church, so-called, because they're not simple as that. People who push these motions, they're not believers. They're apostate. They're unfortunately hellbound, and we need to pray for their souls, because otherwise, where they're going right now is it's not a happy place at all. Not a happy place. But yeah, that's pretty much the main thing with this synod. There are a bunch of other issues they discussed. It's kind of like the ecumenical councils, like including the first council in Nicaea, where they had a few other issues, and they're like, yeah, cool, whatever, do this, do that. But everyone just kind of like, it was kind of in the back of the mind of everyone, because everyone's just there for like the one main issue. And so with the council of Nicaea, you had all the issue of, I believe the Meletian Schism. I want to say the Meletian Schism, I think. Also the issue on celebration of the Paschal Feast and a couple other things, procedures with like ecclesiastical roles and such. But everyone had in their mind the divinity of Christ. That was the center of it. Likewise here with this synod, this was at the center of the whole thing, of the vote on the definition of marriage and perhaps peripherally the definition of unchastity. Yeah, and 100%, you're totally right. Don't worry, the progressives will die out. We just have to keep fighting for the truth. 100%, amen. And I'm proud that our Sydney Archdiocese is like the bastion of tradition and truth in the Anglican Church in Australia, really across the world. We're world famous for that, so I'm very happy to be here. But there were other peripheral issues on the agenda as well, and one of them was very, very curious. And I'm gonna switch over to the blog of that minister I talked about before, David Old, because he covered this pretty well. It's in the same primary documents and minutes, and I think mainly the business papers, so you can read them there. But he succinctly shows them, because he shows another really, really bizarre issue at the synod, and that will be here. So this is his blog article after he finished the day 4 article from the synod. This is basically his wrap up of it, and it's really funny. It's an accurate title: "The Anglicans Who Don't Want to Be Anglican." It's really, really funny.
Yeah,
because there was a motion that there's this kind of, it wasn't a bad motion, but it's like it's got that kind of like ecumenical kind of spirit to it. So someone put forward this that said, the General Synod acknowledged that there are several theological and spiritual cultures within the Anglican Church of Australia. Recognizing persons within each culture adhere to it for reasons of belief conscientiously hold and adherence to Holy Scripture, as well as social identity, welcoming the strengths that our diverse unity brings. So therefore calls on all Anglicans, regardless of their cultural identity, to respect one another's cultures, build on what we hold in common, affirm that the separation of any one of us diminishes us all, and where we seek to differ in the spirit of Philippians 3:13, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward to what lies ahead, to discover each other's faith as it is today and appeal to history only for enlightenment, not as a way of perpetuating past controversy, so that the gospel we proclaim may be attractive to the widest range of Australians to whom we seek to minister. So for one, that last line is like yeah, no, the gospel's not meant to be attractive. It's meant to be true. So, like, no, thank you. But you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to, this motion's trying to say to, look, just agree on the essentials. Just keep unity on the essentials. Don't bicker on non-essentials, which, like,
that's it.
The spirit of it is like, the direction that it often goes is not good. But otherwise, as it is, I can somewhat, like, okay this motion. But someone actually tried to give in a good injection of tradition. Someone forwarded an amendment that said the following. So delete the words theological and spiritual, several theological and spiritual cultures, presumably to say that no, as the Anglican Church, we're one spiritual culture, we're a specific tradition. So I'm all for that. So theological in the current clause, and then following the words that this General Synod, with the consequential renumbering, that they add this to the motion, that A, the Synod rejoices in the Christian faith professed by the Church of Christ from the time of the New Testament and in particular set forth in the creeds. B, joyfully recommits to respectful and reverent reading, teaching, and preaching of the canonical scriptures as our ultimate rule and standard of faith inspired by God and containing all things necessary for salvation, based formal sufficiency. And C, and humbly re-expresses its determination to obey the commands of Christ and teach his doctrine as these are given to us in Scripture. So the amendment wanted to add this to the motion. The motion was pretty wishy-washy, I'd say that, but it was going to make it much more solid and much more compact and unified, in order to basically say, look, we're the Anglican Church, we have these essential core things we agree on, let's make this is what we're calling on. Now, here's the really, really interesting part. According to Minister Auld, who was there, people immediately rose up to speak against this as restrictive and even divisive. And then he also comments, where did this suddenly disunifying language in the amendment come from? What was it that could cause Anglicans from across Australia to protest, would actually undermine our common call to live together? What is it that is so far on the fringe that it falls outside the 95% we hold in common? Well, here's the source of those 3 paragraphs from the amendment. Part 1 of the Constitution of the Anglican Church of Australia. So this amendment that people apparently were calling uber divisive is just pretty much straight up from the Constitution of the Anglican Church of Australia. Like Part 1, Chapter 1, first 3 paragraphs of the Constitution of the Anglican Church of Australia. And yet a lot of people were saying, no, do not obligate unity on this in the bloody Anglican Church of Australia. Like, what the hell? The hell is up with this?
Oh, gosh.
It's amazing. Hey, Joshua, my man, good to see ya. Go Celtics. I don't watch. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, as usual. You're way too generous. Unfortunately, I don't watch your cringe American sports. I watch the real Chad stuff. What do we have right now? Do we have the NRL happening at the moment, I think?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe we have the NRL happening. Yeah, much more. Like, we just have one of our guys, Jared Hayne, go over to America, and he, like, thwomped all the other American players. Yeah. Like that one time when the one player collided with him, and he was just, like, still as a rock, and the other one just bounced right off him.
Yeah, literally just...
Straight up. Because they have to wear so much padding, whereas the Chad rugby player wears no padding, just spandex.
His muscles is the padding.
That's it. It's just pure muscle. But yes, so the amendment was literally just the core of the Constitution of the Anglican Church of Australia. So it is eminently reasonable, if not obligatory, for the church for the General Synod to call for unity on that. And yet, apparently, the amendment, it passed. Thank God it passed, but only by 119 for and 113 against.
Oh my goodness.
So virtually half of the Synod did not want to mandate unity on the core, essential, constitutional, like even just the spiritual core of the Anglican Church of Australia, the historic creeds, the New Testament as the ultimate standard of faith, and so on. Half the Synod didn't even want that. And yet, by God's grace, a very slim minority managed to push that amendment through. But that is just insane.
Yeah. Well, Paul, if we look at the mathematical numbers, it was quite literally the difference of 6 that caused this to actually pass, 119 compared to 113. But I think also the main undermining thing that should be concerned for the Anglicans is that if this pre-proposed, everything that was pre-proposed was quite literally sourced from the very constitution that binds the faith, then the question should be begged whether or not the people practicing are even practicing Anglicanism, are even practicing being Anglicans in the first place. I can't speak right. I still got a head cold. But the retardation of the bill has made me retarded.
The retardation is contagious.
The brain cells have gone. It's just empty. Go, bro.
I'm a Anglican.
Murder.
Murder.
Oh,
let's not with that one. That's not even that's not even a censorship thing. It's just straight up Christian witness at this point.
Yes. It is sad though when we clearly see these divisions, because it's inherently the fact of if you don't support this, why do you go there? Like, if you are inherently homosexual, why do you purposely drive your car, park it, walk outside into the church that's on a private bit of land? It's not even though it's a public space, it's still on private land. You walk inside the doors, you walk to a seat which you sit down, and how exactly, why would you want to stay? There are other places that will give in to your sodomy. There are other places that, they will speak many things, but they won't speak the truth. Oh, well, I want the truth. I want to understand what it is that Christ said. Okay, well, here is the truth. The fact of the matter is we don't believe this. Oh, well, I don't like that. Well, what makes you think he's going to care? And the fact of the matter is, this pettiness of, oh, I want to be right. I want to be accepted. I want to be better. It's probably one of the core main issues that Christ stated. The first deadly sin, which is pride.
Well, yeah, that's it.
It's Pride Month.
For that. That's it. Yeah. And I was literally just about to say this, but my man Random Taffer said it. It's the whole point why they stay is to subvert it. That's the whole thing. There's no other reason for them to stay. Like, they're against everything that's in it, and yet they fight tooth and nail to change it to what they like. And that's ultimately the purpose. Definitionally, they're there to subvert it. From their perspective, of course, they're just reforming it to make it better according to what they believe, according to their own standard. That is their itty bitty little brain. But yeah, but obviously for us, for the truth, it's just subversion. That's ultimately what it is. And unfortunately, there is a lot of that. And you would think that they could even say, it's amazing where you would think that they could just say, let's open up for same-sex marriage. But yes, otherwise we agree we're Anglicans. We'll keep to the core of the creeds, the scripture and all that. But we just support same-sex marriage. So that position is already apostate. But they could do that. And I think such people may well exist. But they even go, so many other people otherwise go beyond that and just say, no, let's not even enforce unity on the essentials. Like, what the heck is what is going on at this point? What are you trying to accomplish by saying that you don't want unity on the essentials? And ultimately, for many people, it's just this really misplaced idea that simply having standards, strong standards, is just a bad thing. We need to be as open as possible and make the faith as lightweight and virtually empty as possible, which is retarded, because that idea, not necessarily, but it very much could be mutually exclusive depending on the scenario with the truth. So, for example, the fact that Christ's divinity, that is an essential of the faith, that is the truth, that's mutually exclusive with the desire of wanting to have greater unity with the heterousians, or the Arians as they were commonly called. So what comes out on top, truth or unity? Truth. Material unity means absolutely jack if the truth is at stake. And that's exactly what God did with Israel multiple times. He divided them up multiple times in order to preserve the truth, and said to often the majority that were wrong, and just said, yeah, bye, see you later. You're not my elect, LMAO bottom text. But and he maintained the truth even through a tiny minority sometimes. But unfortunately, that attitude of just unity, hyper ecumenism is everywhere now. It's really, really, really sad. I could comment Do I want to say? Okay, not really. That's more to do with my personal parish. I won't go there. Nothing bad, but just an observation. Man. British pop culture. Oh man, Joshua, thank you again for the super chat. Australian sports are just for convicts. In other words, men. Yes, that's right. If Anglicanism real, how come British? British, you want a bottle of water in it?
If Anglicanism real, how come British? You know, the irony of the British Isles is that back during, I cannot remember if this was during the 80s, 90s, or early
Also,
2000s.
People Q&A as usual, and priority to super chatters and financial supporters. Anyway, go on.
It's all good. The Anglican Church in the UK specifically, they actually lost, I think it was about 40 to 30%, because many were actually practicing in the traditional Catholic Latin doctrine, and the Pope actually invited them to come back in. And the irony of the Anglican Church is that many are just Catholics that just don't comprehend, they don't put their support towards the papacy. Isn't
Roman Catholicism like about to outpace the Church of England membership in England?
I
have to look that up.
It already has, I believe.
Oh, it already has. Yeah, I think I heard that. So. Church of England versus Roman Catholic percentage.
Because the Church of England, the actual body, that church, it's not even like the numbers are nowhere near to what they were hundreds of years ago. Like it's virtually non-existent now.
Yeah. I remember even seeing one of their major cathedrals, I think further up north. But they eventually, they quite literally, I think they might have just sold it, and it was turned into like a mini golf course inside. Oh. Like it's just this beautiful interior structure, kind of like almost akin to St. Mary's Cathedral, but then it's just got these little golf courses on the ground. It was the saddest and funniest thing to see ever. It was, oh man,
that
really,
is
really
true
bad.
irony.
But that yeah, I think I did read that some while ago that Roman Catholicism has actually outpaced Church of England membership again, which is like, that's like the ultimate. You just got like your butt handed to you, like absolute. What I want to say, like you just got owned. You got really cucked, because that's the state religion. That's the religion of which the Queen of England's the head, and yet a foreign religion is now bigger than you. That's the definition of getting cucked right there. It's actually it's sad, but it's beautiful. And it's beautiful as well, because we know with the Church of England, they're functionally apostate right now as well, with all their pro-tranny, pro-gay stuff. So it's like, God's judgment's real. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought, eh?
Yep. Probably in attendance, but not baptism / membership.
What's that referring to?
I think that's with Church of England, I believe.
Okay.
So to subvert it and access to children. Yep, that's true. That's definitely a big purpose of homosexual and tranny apologetic subversion in our churches, of course, in order to subvert the kids themselves. Not necessarily to diddle the kids, although that is a real thing. Many of them do really want to do that. But otherwise, simply just to subvert them in order to make them their way.
But Paul, how can we judge priests who are sexually attracted to children when that's their sexuality?
Ooh, that's true. That's true. The P is about to be added to the alphabet soup, ladies and gentlemen.
Does that mean that you're a bigot? That you don't support someone's sexuality? Are you a hater?
I think it does mean I'm a bigot. I think I am a bigot against people who want to diddle kids.
Are you not tolerant? Do you not support love? How dare you say that priests cannot have sex with little children?
Yeah,
that is just inherently the nastiest thing you could say to that.
I think I really am a bigot, because it says, love is love, hey, and as the Bible says, God is love. Therefore, we should be able to diddle kids whenever we want. That's
exactly right, Paul.
That's exactly what the Bible says.
I thought you studied theology.
I thought I did as well, but I think I need to go back, and I need to go join a pride parade or two for penance. and allow homosexuals into my home. And once I have kids, allow them to teach my children and have alone time with them. That's going to be my penance in order to repent of my ways, unfortunately. Okay. Irony over. And for the unironic position, death penalty. Yeah, just no qualification. Just you diddle kids to the chopping block or hang. What's better, the chopping block or hanging?
The guillotine. Or in terms of like, in terms of
what's a more fitting punishment?
Body count or pain?
Just getting the kill. It's like pain.
With the guillotine, you don't necessarily have to aim for the head with the guillotine. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
All right, no, Taffa, you're wrong. Firing squad. That's the dignified execution of like military. So they don't deserve that dignity. No way. Paul puts the big in bigotry. I will take that. I will gladly. Oh yeah.
Big in bigotry. The other Paul shirt coming soon in stores near you.
That is actually a mad idea. I'm going to do that. I need to close down the Etsy merch store because like they do the most retarded thing where you have to pay rather than them pay the manufacturing cost, make the shirt, and then they just take their cut and give you yours. Instead, you have to pay the whole thing and then they take their cut. So I have to have like if I wanted to get like some decent sales, I'd have to have like big capital in my account at the outset, which is just retarded. Yeah. So I'm probably going to close that down and I'm going to see if Redbubble's any different. And if Redbubble is different and they pay it, but they just take their cut and then give you yours, then I'm going to go up with that. And I will make that shirt. I put the big in bigotry.
Paul puts the big in bigotry.
Oh, man. I don't know if my ministers would be too happy with that one. But given the definition, it relies on the definition of bigotry done today, which is just made up and cringe. Can't do guillotine because of all the HIV positive blood squirting everywhere.
Oh, gosh.
That's true. That's so true. You should interview David Old on your channel. I probably should. I was going to find something that'd be good with it. Yeah. I think I do want to. Maybe on this very issue. Maybe on the trajectory of Anglicanism in Australia and like whether there's hope for conservative renewal. What he thinks. That's actually a really good idea. I might actually do that. Yeah. Thanks for that suggestion. That's a really good idea. I'm going to consider doing that. Yeah, I have a few things lined up for very soon, so that's gonna be a really good idea. I'll definitely do that. And so yeah, I wasn't as prepped for this Christendom Weekly as I liked because I was doing I've had to do other obligations as well, so I kind of had to scramble to put this together. So I don't know what else. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what else has happened recently, like even if not church news, just like generally political, I guess. We had our Australian election a couple of weeks ago or something.
Oh yeah. We had to vote because legally we can't not vote or we get fined.
Yeah,
we have to have an opinion, guys.
Yeah, that's it. You're like you have such. We will force you to use your right to democracy.
I simply
I'll tell you the funny stories I did. Before that, my brother was the chat. He's like, I don't want to vote, no way, and he just took the fine. And it's not a big fine anyway. It's like $20 for your first time and $50 for repeat offenses. Like, wow, okay.
I just I walked in, they gave me the vote, and all the booths were full. So I simply slowly walked over, folding the paper, and then put the vote in the box and walked out. Because I could not be bothered.
Chad moment. I actually do think people should vote anyway, even if they think it's useless, just for the reason that our knowledge is necessarily limited, even if we think and really have really good reason to think that we're not going to be able to influence or change things. Crazy stuff happens a lot. And so we should just take a few minutes out of our day, go down to the voting booth, vote for the actual good, in this case, minor parties. And even if we think it does nothing, whatever, it's just a few minutes out of our day. But there is the tiny possibility that it may actually affect some change. And even though minor parties didn't really do like as amazingly as we wanted them to, it did show that there was a boost in support for them. So that really has probably scared the majors. So that in itself has probably done something a bit, even if not as much as I'd like. I was otherwise disappointed with not being able to pick up many seats at all. by minor parties. But a couple of funny stories. So one, my cousin told me when he went to vote, he would walk past the. Actually, I'll close this now.
Yes.
And yes, people, I'll be putting up those blog posts from David Old, and also the main General Synod thing, all these sources, and in the description below afterwards. But the funny thing, or probably just in a comment because I'm not bothered editing the description. But so my cousin, he went to vote. He's really pessimistic about it, understandably. He went to vote. He did his vote, and I think he voted for the legalized cannabis party. That was one of his top votes, which actually makes sense because if I knew that they were greatly anti-mandate to the point where they actually have a seat in Western Australia in the Western Australian Parliament, but their member when that Parliament passed the requirement of vaccination for those in Parliament, their own member was like, "No, I'm not getting it, no way," and she was kicked out. But they opposed the mandates entirely. So I would have unironically put them down as an option if I knew that beforehand.
Nice.
But he went to vote, and he told me that when he walked past the campaigners, because I don't know how it works in America, but when you go to your polling booth, you have these campaigners from different parties, and they hand out to you how to vote cards, or whatever, like with their preferences and everything. Yeah. And so he would walk past them, and they'd say, "Oh, vote Labor, vote Liberal, whatever." And then he would be kind of enthusiastic and kind of nice, and he'd go, "Oh, okay, thank you." He'd take the how to vote card. He'd walk to the bin right in front of him and slam it in, not even just chuck it in front of him. He would actually slam it in and make a noise, actually being enthusiastic and happy about it, and then just slamming it right in front of their faces.
Oh, that's brutal.
Do you have any funny stories from voting?
Funny stories from voting.
Even if in past elections.
In past elections, I remember when I was voting for the first time. I turned 18, and I went down to my local. It's held at a school where I locally live, and I walked past the Liberal Party member, and they say, "Oh, vote for Liberal." Oh, no, I don't want something, thank you. I walk past the Labor person who gets excited because it's like, "Oh, it's not Liberal." Anyway, he goes, "Oh, do you want a Labor thing?" And I go, "Oh, no, thanks, thank you." And finally we pass. And I think it was Clive Palmer's person. It's like, "Oh, do you want something?" I'm like, "Oh, no, thank you." And then finally I get to the end, and it's the Greens member. And it's the only time he looks happy. He turns and he goes, "Oh, mate, you must want something." And I stop, I stare at him, and I laugh, and I go, "Fuck no."
No. And why'd you drop that on this channel, mate?
and the guy is looking bemuted, and he just puts the paper down, and he just looks down and is so depressed. And my dad's just laughing at him. Bro, I'm laughing at this grown man. He's like, "I don't get paid enough." No, he doesn't even get paid at all. He's volunteer.
Oh my word. Bro, why'd you drop that bomb? Why'd you drop the bomb on my channel? That is a funny story. I'll tell you, because the story I have is actually quite similar. So first thing, and this election, I'm walking into the polling area at a school as well. I walk past the Liberal and Labor campaigners. I just walk past them. I just say, and when they hand them out, I'm just saying, "I'm not voting for my enemies." I walk right past them when I say that. And then I get in line, and in the line, there's this young Greens kid, probably our age, and he's handing out how to vote cards as well. And when he gets to me, I say to him, "I'm a Christian, buddy. No, thank you." And then he says, I'm a Christian as well." And then I just say, "No, you're not." And he says, "Okay." just totally shut down. No response at all. Oh my word. I just didn't. I don't even engage him like, "Oh, you're a Christian and yet you believe this and this and that." I just say, "No, you're not. No, you're not." And he just doesn't respond. Just nothing. Funniest moment. Oh man, I'm never living that one down. Never living that one down at all.
I went to a Christian school for 12 years. My mom.
Probably. Oh man, your video keeps freezing up when you get close for some reason.
Because the strange thing is, my video camera, if I don't move my mouse, it turns off. This laptop's really weird. I don't know. But yeah, that I remember that story. That good old. I'm a Christian. No. Oh,
no.
Okay.
No, he just whimpers like, okay. He just says nothing. It was the proudest moment of my life. Yeah, I wonder if there's anything else to comment about. I promise people in following Christendom Weeklies, I'm going to have more stuff like queued up well beforehand. It's just been a while since we last had one of these, so yeah, it was nice and fun.
On June 1st, breaking news: plastic bags be banned in New South Wales.
Oh, was that actually June 1st?
Yes.
Oh my word! Yeah, that's right. We have these dumb ass plastic
bags be illegal in Australia, New South Wales, unless you sell them from Woolworths or Coles for 5 cents a bag.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and I think they're banning later in the year. They're banning styrofoam containers. Actually, I think styrofoam's already banned. Styrofoam containers,
plastic containers,
and plastic straws. Plastic straws are going to be straight up banned. It's not just going to be corporations not doing it. Straight up banned. Absolutely retarded pretense for environmental bullcrap. Do you have to pay for paper bags now? Yeah. So, technically, until recently, not legally, but otherwise, pretty much all our grocery chains would they swept away from plastic bags a good while ago, or at least the kind of trashy type of plastic bag, and they moved over to a more environmentally friendly type of plastic bag that they themselves sell, but it's for like 15 cents a pop or something. So we do kind of, it's not expensive, but we do have to pay for our plastic bags, at least in most chains. But at least your average like independent inconvenience store or your little Arabic fruit shop run by Rafael Aboud or whoever would at least still have their own little plastic bags, but now that's banned, so they can't do that anymore. And yeah, eat a straw stream to show that sea turtles are pathetic weaklings. Why not? Maybe I should hoard up on the plastic straws before they're banned.
Hoard on the plastic straws.
We should actually do that. Because grocery places do sell like stacks of plastic straws. So we should buy like a ton of them before they're made illegal. And then we can just make like a mint of selling them for a premium.
77 years ago, here belay the plastic straw, becoming an item so unique that even the Jew acquired its taste.
Oh my word. Okay. When we're exclusively on Odysee from next week onwards, that's cool. But this one's still on YouTube as well. So we're going to limit it a little bit. Hey, Warsaw, mate, good to see you. But you missed the main story, bro. It's pretty much just we're pretty much just shit posting now. Yeah. So have fun. I hope you enjoy it. We just talked about how our government is successfully banning plastic products, basically. So they've just banned plastic bags proper.
Meanwhile, Canada banned handguns.
They're
we'll up the ante a bit.
Yeah,
Sweden's going to ban all guns soon.
Sweden,
yeah, all of them. They're gonna ban all guns, all ammunition, and they're gonna require all the legal. Everyone that owns their guns will have to hand them in. Like no one will be able to own guns.
Yeah, that's just retarded. Black market is best market. That's slowly becoming the case. In fact, actually, no, it's very quickly becoming the case, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Son of a biscuit beater. That's, okay. Interesting. Oh, man. But yeah, so we've just banned plastic bags here. And styrofoam containers, I think they're already banned. I'm not sure. But eventually plastic straws, I think that's in October, plastic straws are going to be banned. So I was just suggesting with Tommy, we just buy like stacks of plastic straws, sell them for a mad premium to people. Oh, yeah. Lots of guns to be lost in boating accidents. Ah, yes. I think we're going to see an uptick in boating accidents.
Actually, Paul, I'll tell you what the funniest thing. Have you ever gone on the New South Wales Police their Facebook page, and whenever they have a gun, like, you know, whenever they confiscate guns, like, have you ever seen them take those photos?
Yeah.
Bro, you have to look. It's the funniest thing. It's like, we here in New South Wales are protecting the freedoms of the people. We have disarmed many people and made our country safer, says the man holding a musket. Bruh, you've done nothing. It's literally a musket, not even a good musket. The barrel's like broken. It's all rusted.
Oh my word! And I've seen them like with tiny crossbows as well.
A tiny
And I think even airsoft maybe, because airsoft's illegal here in Australia as well. Airsoft is legal.
Yes.
It's just, I think they're even trying to do something with gel blasters, because gel blasters were made as a
they're being super. The issue with those is the reason why they're having a go at them is because legally any toy that's a firearm has to have an orange tip to distinguish the fact that it's a toy.
Right.
And the reason why those don't have the orange tips is because they're actually designed for proper like they're not actually technically toys, they're actually designed for proper realism. They're not technically toys, so that's where it's a bit of a...
And so our government, being Big Daddy, regulates the hell out of them. And until recently, the game RimWorld was banned in Australia, but it's just come back. It's actually just been re-allowed.
In Western Australia, actually, I learned this as well when they were talking about the guns. They've made it illegal for you to buy, you know how with like guns you can have like stands, like rifle stands to hold them?
Yeah.
They're going to make that illegal. Like you're not going to be able to buy them.
You got to just love the world, like the utterly incoherent, childish worldview behind banning guns and gun products.
And legally, any stand, so like even normal camera stands are not going to be able to be sold outside. They'll have to be behind the counter in Western Australia. Yeah.
Good luck, JB Hi-Fi.
I know. Bro, what? I'm gonna look that up. If that's true, then I feel so sorry for Western Australians.
Yeah.
Wow, that's just... You got to love that incoherent worldview behind the banning of guns and gun products like stands and stocks and bloody airsoft and all that stuff. Like, do you ever like think about how there are people who have this much like power in these high positions, and they have a worldview that if it was just me and them one-on-one, I could eviscerate? Like, do you ever think how like, not depressing necessarily, but just like how bizarre that is? People of such power being that genuinely dumb.
Yeah.
It's,
you know,
amazing.
the irony is that with most gun control, the reason why gun control causes gun violence to explicitly go up is all the legal owners who have guns get rid of theirs, so the only ones that are left are illegal. And obviously a criminal doesn't care about the law because he breaks the law, or she breaks the law, or it breaks the law, because if it doesn't know what it is, then
if it saves even one life,
nah, bro.
The Virgin banned guns to save lives versus the Chad sacrifice 1 million kids a year for my guns. Nah, I remember being big into research and like US gun statistics like years and years ago, and I still remember little bits of it. I remember one big study by a certain Gary Kleck who estimated like some over 1 million plus defensive uses of guns in the United States, both like actually using the gun versus like just displaying it and that diffusing a situation. And so that put in perspective that, well, okay, let's say you have like I think something collectively, all types of violent crime with guns was like 100 or a few 100,000 or so, but then defensive gun uses were like well over 1 million or 2 million. And that was being bashed by like gun control advocates because like for whatever reasons they could kind of just concoct out of their ass basically. But eventually, and especially because the CDC, they would point, oh, look, the CDC doesn't agree. They estimate much less than that. But then it eventually came out that the CDC actually hid the true numbers of defensive gun uses and only released them years after the fact. And then so people pointed to that to say, hey, look, that, and it was very closely cohered with Gary Kleck, I think. I think that's his name, Kleck, or Gleck, or Kleck. I think it's Kleck. And basically vindicated what he said, like the bloody CDC, not exactly known as a Second Amendment activist group, they vindicated what he said, that there's a lot of defensive gun uses, and so people don't realize that. But of course, it's not even just a matter of they're dumb and they just want to ban guns. There's genuinely, you can very easily see malicious forces out there who they acknowledge that on a realistic level, guns are good for people, but that's exactly why they want to get rid of them, in order to cement their control as the tyrants they want to be.
They're so bad. The police and army just carry them around for display, Paul. You know, they don't actually use them. They go and give...
and of course, as we know, the police are so effective that they didn't stop the shooter in Uvalde, Texas, while he was going until much, much later, allowing him to kill dozens and dozens of, probably not dozens, plural, but like many, many students, and disallowing parents and other armed personnel from going in to stop him because just reasons, I guess. So yeah, the gun control activists saying, "Oh, rely on the police." Well, we have that Texas shooting. We have that shooting in Texas, and look how the police helped at all. They didn't. In fact, their inactivity and their disallowance of other people to intervene killed more kids. What do you do with that? Yeah, you don't hear about the good guy with the gun because oftentimes the crime or disaster was prevented, so it didn't make the news. Exactly, yeah. I think there's a whole subreddit. I remember looking at that years ago as well. Like a whole subreddit dedicated to just spamming news stories of defensive uses of guns. Yeah. And there's just like tons and tons and tons there. I can't imagine the rage I would feel as one of those parents being handcuffed and kept from going in for my kids. Oh yeah, absolutely. I would have probably, like, in my fleshly state, unless God had mercy on me to keep the rage like subsided. Like after the fact, I would have found those cops again and just at the bar and just probably in my fleshly state. And it's enraging. I shouldn't do that, and I don't want to do that, but that's just how blood boiling that situation is. Like, I can't imagine what I would have done as a parent there to those cops if they stopped me from going in. It's just straight up evil. I do hope there's reprimands for that afterwards.
Bro, I literally just walk in. It's like, oh, you have to stop. It's an active crime scene. No, bro.
No.
We will shoot you. Okay.
Okay, cool. Shoot me, an unarmed citizen, by all means, please, who's not committing a crime. I'm always impressed how much about the States folks from other countries actually know. Seriously. Yeah, because like the States, until maybe soon, is pretty much the center of the world. So if you want to do political stuff, you have to read up on the States quite a bit. Oh man, ironically, there was a point where I knew more about United States politics than Australian politics, because our politics is just boring, most part. Cringe. Gun control rages me, indeed. Just rely on the police. Also defund the police. That's true. Each inquiry, 500K to 3 million use of defensive guns in the US. Yeah, I think that's the statistic. Proud text in here. It's tragic what happened in Uvalde, but it's made clear that if you want to be protected from violent crime, you've got to do it yourself.
Be like Florida. Bro, the police chief in Florida was so based. He goes, violent crime increases if the perpetrator gets away. But if you shoot and kill the perpetrator, violent crime increases by 0%. So we like that. So go right ahead. And like, he was encouraging people. He said, if people break into your house, shoot them and kill them because they won't do it again. And like Florida actually became so based during this time. It's actually like so good.
God bless DeSantis. God bless DeSantis.
God bless.
And I don't think there's really much else to talk about other than just, oh my word. Thank you very much, Taffa. You absolute legend. Thank you so much. Have a round of me. Good times with bros. Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. Hugely appreciated this super chat. Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of which, I still got to give Google my tax information so I can actually withdraw the Google AdSense stuff. By the way, for future plugs, for plugging for people in the future, YouTube takes over 30% of every super chat.
Yes.
Which is theft. Whereas Subscribe Star doesn't even take half of that, and you get more value for your money because you regularly contribute on a month, and yet you get priority. You get priority questions in Q&As whenever you want, every single time, rather than just one with a super chat. That's a mad plug. Nonetheless, for those who do send super chats, thank you so much. Hugely appreciate it. Hugely appreciate it. I don't think we even officially did the Q&A. So if anyone has like questions, Q&A stuff, send them through here. If you're a supporter. If you're a financial supporter, go to the supporter questions chat on the Discord so you can send it there so I can see it separated from everything else. And I guess we'll wait a little bit. And yes, I see you, Joshua, in the Odysee chat. Become a Subscribe Star supporter of the other Paul. That's right. Thank you, Chinque. Support me. Link down below. Anyway, if there's any questions that people have, then send them through for either of us.
Yes, or for both.
That's it. Oh man, actually got to put I didn't put my cross necklace on. How dare I? Am I going to hell now because I forgot to put my cross necklace on? Hope not. Oh man. Nothing else, happening in Sydney Romanism.
No, as far as I'm aware, everything's been very quiet. Of course, I've been at home the past couple of days. I got a head cold. No, I don't have COVID, guys. I'm not worthy to get the Rona. Even though I'm unvaccinated and I've lived with 2 people who have had COVID for the past month. And even though I've never worn a mask, and even though I've shared drinks and I've eaten the same food, and even though I've breathed in the same air and I haven't gone outside, I just can't get it, guys. I'm sorry. I just can't get it.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe you did get it and you just didn't show any symptoms like the majority of people.
That's true.
I got it and it was the worst 2 days of my life. But now I've got I not only was already pure blood and I still am, but now I'm like super powered blood with the antibodies. So now like my blood's probably worth like $1 million a pint right now.
I've been told by several of my family members that apparently you can sell like your blood or your sperm or your hair if you're unvaccinated on like the black market because people want that stuff.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And I'm like, lol, that's pretty funny.
That's 100%. I can bet that. There's definitely going to be a market for unvaccinated blood. I could do it myself. I wonder how much 1 ounce of unvaccinated blood goes for
on the black market,
or even just in the legal market. Because I think I even heard legal sales of blood. That'd be interesting to look at. Maybe that could give me some nice small shekels. Okay, so question: do you anticipate an ACNA style reformation in Australia? So this is basically like, okay, not the SSPX. It's like not really comparable. Kind of like to translate it to you, Tommy. I don't know if you know what the ACNA is.
I don't think so. I don't know that acronym.
It's North American Anglican Church organization that's just emphasizing conservative, very traditional faith and worship. Basically, I think you could compare them to like the FSSP in the Roman Catholic Church, although of course different contexts, but pretty much kind of like that. And so, do I anticipate an ACNA type of Reformation in Australia? Possibly, because I actually talked with one of my ministers at my parish, asked him about like, oh yeah, what do you think about BCP, Book of Common Prayer, 662, and all that stuff? And we have like traditional liturgical morning services, which I go to, but it's based on like more modern prayer books and all that, but it's otherwise nice and traditional. But he himself says he actually kind of has interest. He and a few others actually do have interest in Book of Common Prayer type services, and he would, if he had the power, like introduce some more traditional stuff in the normal traditional services. So potentially, maybe it's only going to happen if we get like an individual or like a small group who goes out and leads the charge and say, hey, let's do this trad thing, join us, and we can organize it and get it happening in our parishes. That's the only way I can see it happening. So far, I don't see anyone doing that, but it's possible. It's possible. I'll say that. There's probably a lot of closet traditionalists in Sydney Anglicanism and maybe even Anglicanism across Australia who would get behind that, I think. Black market is best market. Amen. Unvaccinated bathwater. I could sell that for a mint. Dang, late to the party, but still made it. Somewhat. Not to worry, though. There'll be the replay, which you can find on YouTube, but also on Odysee, and I'll re-upload it to Gab TV as well. Yes. By the way, people who haven't already, subscribed to my Gab, because that's pretty much going to become the center of my ministry, whether or not I get nuked from YouTube or Facebook, because it's the only free speech platform that's actually free speech, unlike other ones which have had to give in to certain hate speech policies. But yes, that looks like it's about it for now. Yeah, I think so. Tommy, plug your stuff.
All right, guys. So what you want to do is you want to go to YouTube, and type up Dominus, THOMIVS, and look up the show What in the Actual, WITA. You want to go to both YouTube and BitChute, and you want to check out the brand new episode 10 on Pride Day. We finally figured out how to use YouTube thumbnails. Yes, as you can see, my very basic but decent sized YouTube channel. Oh, I've lost another subscriber. How good. Another achievement.
People, help my man out. He's awesome. His content is good stuff. Top tier.
I got 21 views on the...
How many views?
I got 21 views on the Pride Day YouTube
Hey,
video.
there you
That's
go.
surprising. I'm only surprised, guys, because I don't really care about YouTube. I don't get much attention there. I care more about the BitChute following, the OG, the chat, a real Chad man. You know, you can support me on YouTube, but why do that when you can go to BitChute, click the links? Yes.
He's got a whole 1 subscriber.
Whole 1 subscriber on BitChute.
But
we reached a grand total of 200 views in total for the channel this week.
There you go.
So, we're going good, guys. Visible everywhere. Such good places like North Korea, China, Pakistan, Jordan, Yemen.
How good.
Ethiopia, and my personal favorite, Palestine.
How good. Yes, the actual nation that is Palestine, indeed.
Yes.
I kind of, my views are kind of like lofty on that, because I used to be the big time, like, yeah, Israel good, Palestine bad. But now today I'm like, I still don't like Palestine and many Palestinians, but
I love how it's like, what are your views now? Well, you know, I still don't like Palestine. What about Israel? I don't really like Palestine.
Nah, sorry, mate, you're not allowed to join the Liberal Party anymore. Sorry, mate, you're not going to be ascending the political echelons anymore now that you don't consider Israel our greatest ally. Oh, man. You know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on BitChute and or YouTube, subscribe to my man. He has good stuff. He needs the love. Give him that love. I plugged Reform Dweeb a lot, and that's definitely given mad subscribe boost. Let's see the same happening for my buddy Tommy. Even if you just look at the YouTube, but otherwise I highly recommend you get on BitChute and support him there, because that's like, because some of his stuff is not allowed on YouTube because they have, for some reason, decided to surgical strike his stuff.
I was the first one Zucced. If you go down, Paul, go down. If you go to BitChute, you can actually get exclusive content like
the Ukrainian special of What in the Actual.
Yes, it has only 10 views and real life war footage, but for some reason was capped off YouTube for fake news. Now,
why would actual primary source unfiltered footage be considered fake news?
Well, that's because Russia isn't invading Ukraine, Paul. It's all a lie. Every single main, reporter, every single news channel, it's all wrong. It's all conspiracy. Russia never invaded Ukraine. It's clear that Ukrainian aggression actually attacked Russia, causing a Russian response. It's all just beneath them.
That's it. Ukraine annexed Russian oil fields. Unironically, depending on how far back in history you want to go, that's functionally what happened. Because there was the Russian Empire and then the Soviet Union, and they divided up Ukraine in that kind of region. And then when the Union split apart, Ukraine happened to become independent. So, I mean, you could, if you want to go back far enough, you could say, yeah, that's Russian territory. Anyway, there goes my YouTube channel. But there you go, people. That's Tommy. Subscribe to him on YouTube and BitChute. And I highly recommend Tommy, honestly, because, let's be frank, BitChute sucks in many ways. And the big thing that's happening right now, that's what I'm doing, is Gab and Gab TV. And the cool thing is how they're both connected. So they both work. And soon, they just recently announced that people now, Gab users will soon be able to upload Gab TV stuff to Gab TV for free. Because right now it's only for Gab Pro users, for funding and all that, which makes sense. So I'm a Gab Pro user, but soon people will be able to upload for free. So if you want to, Gab is pretty much going to be the future of expansion, in my opinion, for based Christian content makers. So I highly recommend you get on there as well, both for social content and for both for written content and even for video content. But that's just my suggestion.
Unfortunately, that email that I sent off to you know who, the channel's not replied back to me, Paul. So
soon, one day, soon.
Yes, I'm hopeful they will, but I don't know.
God willing. Anyway, Tommy, thank you so much for coming on. And likewise, everybody watching, thank you so much for watching. Sorry I didn't have much stuff queued up just because it's been pretty busy recently and it's been a while since I've done Christendom Weekly. But next week onwards is only going to be an Odysee. So if you want to comment in the live chat, make sure you make an Odysee account. And because it's going to be uncensored now, thank God. And and likewise, there'll be much more stuff prepared ahead of time, so it'll be much more structured streams, whatever, and with whatever guests are available. But yes, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, subscribe on Odysee, subscribe on Gab TV, follow me on Gab proper as well. All necessary links are below, whether directly in the description or in the link tree, which is also in the description. And help support me out. If you want to help me expand this content, higher quality, higher quantity, become a Subscribe Star supporter right down in that link below. You get some awesome benefits with it as well. Even at the lowest tier, you get priority questions in Q&As for every single stream. So imagine having super chats. Imagine sending the equivalent of one super chat every month, $4.50 US. That's the minimum tier. And yet you get as many super chat questions as you want with just that. Consider that, ladies and gentlemen. Awesome stuff. And the new benefits as well with the Episcopos tier. Check that out as well. It's really awesome. Anyway, thank you very much. We'll just go back and rewatch the stream. God bless Chads and God bless you, Chris G, and everybody else watching. Thank you so much. Hope you all have a blessed day. See you next time. Oh, actually, before we go, coming up, I'm organizing an interview with one of my professors on his book / PhD thesis. It's going to be really cool. More details to come. And I have a couple other things coming, including the second part on my early Roman Episcopacy series. That's big. That's going to be either in mid to late June. So get excited for that. And cool stuff's coming. Check the announcements. That's going to be on pretty much on all my accounts, but especially on Discord. That's where I prioritize my announcements. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all have a lovely day. God bless.